my most successful collaborations in terms of like the outcome of the content I created for them, has millions and millions of views and shares and comments. I was compensated poorly for that. I had to hide certain areas of my home because that's where the mold was, because that's where you could see a big wet mark in the wall. £1,200 a month. Now I'm paying a couple £100 less for a 3-bed home with a garden. Like, make it make sense. I don't understand. So yeah, this is still very much my job. I still do love this job so much. I'm just wanting something different. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new. I have gotten so many new subscribers, so hey, welcome to the fam if you're new. My name is Jessiara, I'm 21 and I'm a fashion, lifestyle and home content creator from London, living in Manchester. This is a much needed update, Q&A, chat. We just need to catch up. We need to get to the bottom of some things, because I know if you're new, then let me explain. So I'm from London originally. I've been living in London my whole life, minus the few months that I lived in Manchester for university. So yeah, I just up and moved to Manchester unannounced, I guess, because the internet was kind of like, what? But behind the scenes, I've been planning this for a minute. I asked you guys on my socials to send me some questions of things that you just want to know, and I said to ask me anything. So I've got a few questions based on like career stuff, relationship stuff, moving, and just me personally that I would love to answer. So I'm going to be answering the biggest question that I've gotten since I've moved. I moved on the 25th of March. Yeah, I remember looking at this house on Rightmove and telling my partner and being like, I love this house, like I love the ceilings, I love the wood floors, I can see us living in this house, like I can see us living in this house. And I'm not gonna say I manifested it, but I definitely manifested it. And if you don't believe in the law of manifestation, the law of attraction, then that's okay. Speaking what you want into existence and then obviously working towards it to get it. And that's exactly what I did for this house. We looked at so many houses, but the gag is that we didn't view any houses really. My partner came down to Manchester and his family and him viewed one house that we were going to move to, but we didn't really like the area that much. The house was lovely, but the area just was not it. And it was pretty far out from Manchester, because we were looking like city centre, but also the outskirts of Manchester, mostly because Corey's family is close by to Manchester, and I didn't want to live very like city centre, like very central, but I wanted to live close by. I wanted it to be close on train, on bus, driving, whatever. So we were looking at different areas of Manchester, and yeah, we didn't view this house before we got it. And I know a lot of people will be like, that is the dumbest thing, and I do agree. If you are wanting to rent a property, buy a property, please view the property. We viewed it via video, so we did get a video viewing. We saw each room, and from that we made a decision to go with it, to put deposit down, and we got the house. And it was a very popular house. This house that we're in was very popular. So many people wanted this house, but we grabbed it up quick, because the rental market in London is just, it's stupid, it's ridiculous, and I couldn't justify spending 2k a month on a 2-bed that just about had a front yard, you know, a balcony or whatever. My property, the flat that I lived in before, the first flat I rented by myself with my daughter when I was 19 years old, was a 2-bed first floor flat. So it was on the first floor of a house in a lovely area. I loved the area, I loved my neighbours. It was close to centre, like I knew the area very well because I went to school in the area. But I couldn't justify. I was paying £1,200 a month for my flat, and my landlord was going to raise the rent to £1,300 in May. So that's when my tenancy would have renewed. There was no way I was going to be paying £1,300, Great British pounds a month on that property. I had mold. I was living in mold for over a year. Since I moved into that property, I was living in mold. And not just like speckles of mold, not just like here or there, not just in one room. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. And I was so ashamed to admit that, because as a content creator, you know, I'm supposed to film aesthetically pleasing videos and nice videos and vlog my life, and I had to hide certain areas of my home because that's where the mold was, because that's where you could see a big wet mark in the wall or big splotches of mold. It was disgusting, and I didn't like the home. Like, it was a home for me for the first 9 months living there. And after a while, it just started draining me, because I was constantly wiping mold, my partner was constantly scrubbing, and then I got sick. And then I got ill in September 2021. I got ill, and I know a lot of people were like, you know, mold exposure can like emphasize this, or like can cause it, which I'm looking into, because that very well may be one of the causes. Not causes, but like things that made it worse. And my daughter got sick multiple times. I got very, very sick multiple times, and it just wasn't an environment I wanted to live in anymore. On top of the mold, it was cold, it was freezing cold, and I wasn't going to turn the heating on every 2 seconds. At the same time, the place was small. I outgrew the space. The house, the flat that I was in, was not serving me anymore. It was depressing. It made me feel things I've never felt before, and I didn't want to leave my home to go outside. And some days I found myself just like not speaking to anyone, not talking to anyone, not filming anything, and not doing my job properly because I didn't like my environment. And it's so important for you to like the home that you live in, to enjoy and be happy in the home that you live in, because if you don't, what's the point in you being there? And it got to a point for me after the stuff with my health. If you don't know what's going on, I don't even know myself at this point, but after the stuff with my health, I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is depressing. This is making me so upset. Like, every day I wake up in my room and I was like, ugh, here again, I'm here again. So we just had to leave. And for my daughter's health, for my partner's happiness, like, I wasn't gonna do that to myself anymore, to us anymore. And we deserved so much more than that. And my landlord was not, you know. Yeah, I got to a point where we were like, you know what, let's just save some money, let's leave London, because yes, my family's in London, my friends are in London, I know London, like I know the good spots to eat in London, I know the good cafes in London. I don't want to live here anymore. It's too much, it's toxic, it's draining. The underground, taking the underground for me was horrible because of my condition. Because of my condition, I get faint very easily, my limbs get very weak, and people in the underground don't know that. And I didn't have the heart to always be like, can I sit down please, or explain why I need to sit. So I was like, I'm not, this is too much. Like, it just got to a point where like, this is too much. So we started looking on Rightmove and we found this house. So they sent us a video viewing. Me and my partner Corey watched the video a million times. We watched that viewing over and over and over and over again. And then we were like, yeah. And he was a bit on the fence because we didn't view it in person, which I completely understand. But for me, I was like, no, this is our house. Boy, was I right. So that's why I left London, essentially, because it was too much for me. I can always go back on the train and visit. And yeah, London just wasn't a home for me to live in anymore. It was more a city where I worked. It was more, I was there for convenience, I was there for my family, I was there for the opportunities. I felt like if I left London, I wouldn't get the same opportunities as I do if I lived in London, and that's not true. If anything, I get more opportunities now. And then someone else asked, why did I move to Manchester in particular? I just love Manchester. I was here for uni. I went to Manchester Metropolitan University, and I just fell in love with the city as soon as I moved. I fell in love with, like, the people were so kind, and the fashion is different, but it's the same as London, but it's a different energy, if that makes sense. Mostly with the people in Manchester is so much just nicer, more calm, more chill. Like, everyone in London's depressed. Creative community in London is beautiful, it's amazing. But for me, it was too much. It became too competitive. I found myself competing for my own platforms when I was like, wait, I'm good at what I do. I don't like this. Like, I don't like this competition energy. Like, you're always gonna compete, but I didn't like the way I was competing with people in my industry, and I was like, nah. No. So Manchester was it. My partner's family is very close to Manchester, and I have friends from uni that I'm reconnecting with, and it's just a new city. Like, why not explore a new city? Why not live in a new city for a year? If we love it, then great. If we don't, then we will move back, or we'll move somewhere else. And then the last question on moving and everything like that is, how did you move to Manchester? Websites, cost, area, etc. How did we move? Well, essentially, it was a lot of planning. We've been planning to move for over a year, so we had everything that we wanted, our wants and our needs, like, written down. I had it on a Notion board, and it was more just discussing the areas and what area we wanted to live. Luckily, my partner's family, his sister, shout to, she helped us with the areas because she lives in Manchester herself. She was like, this is the good area, this is the bad areas, these are good places to eat, these are good places to shop. So first we looked at areas. Areas very important, figuring out, you know, the crime rates in schools. It depends of your circumstances. Obviously, I'm a mum, I have a 2-year-old. We needed to look out for a good area. You know, the crime rate was pretty low, that it was a family orientated area, that it was close to nurseries and schools, everything like that, as well as it being a social area. There was parks, you know, there's things to do. And then after, you know, figuring out an area, we then looked at like transport links, depending how close you want to be to wherever. It's really important firsthand before you even look at properties. And then after you sort out like the area and transport and like how far away you want to be from things, then you look at the type of property you want and what you can afford. We were looking at a 3-bed. We were initially looking at 2 beds because obviously it's just my partner and my daughter. I really had to emphasize, I need a workspace, I need somewhere to work. The 3-bed option was just the more smarter option for us. Prices in Manchester are just a fraction, a whole other story. Like, the prices of renting in Manchester is just amazing, and I feel like more people need to move here. Not even, more people need to leave London because the prices of London, like I said, I was paying for a 2-bed upstairs flat with a tiny kitchen with mold, may I add, £1,200 a month. Now I'm paying a couple £100 less for a 3-bed home with a garden. Like, make it make sense. I don't understand. So yeah, figure out your budget, how much you're willing to spend a month, and then also take into account utilities. You have to pay for council tax, you have to pay for water, gas, electric, internet, Wi-Fi, all of that. Unfortunately, that's just adulting. The next section is career. I got a lot of questions on my career and like, do you still like being a content creator? Are you still a content creator? Like, everything like that. So the first question is, am I still a content creator? I had a couple of people ask me, am I still creating content? And I am. This is still very much my job. I still do love this job so much. I'm just wanting something different. And I talked to a friend about this before I left London. And also one of the reasons why I left London was career-wise. Like I said, I felt like I was competing. I felt like I was copying the crowd and doing whatever the London girlies were doing, and it just wasn't me. And I used to love this job in a different way. I used to love this job for the creation. I used to love editing in interesting, fun ways and taking pictures in interesting, fun ways. It became so mainstream to the point where I was like, oh, I can't create like unorthodox content anymore. I have to create pristine, clean content. I fell out of love with the creation side and I just started doing the content, you know, because content creation is a very creative job. It's a very time-consuming job. You have to be good at everything in this job. Like, you have to be good at the editing and the production side. You have to be good at the visual side and creating a concept. And with me, this job, yeah, it got to a point where I was like, meh, I want to do something else. At the same time, I felt like I wasn't being compensated accordingly. Working with certain brands and certain individuals, I felt like they were just paying me pennies to create a whole advert, essentially. And I remember one brand I worked with, one of my most successful collaborations in terms of like the outcome of the content I created for them, has millions and millions of views and shares and comments. I was compensated poorly for that when I look at it. And even my managers were like, they should have paid you so much more than that. I was like, yeah, I know. In hindsight, I know. But it was a big brand and I was really excited to work with them. So I'm not complaining. I loved working with them, but it's got to a point now where I'm just like, I'm really creative. I'm good at what I do. And I had a hard time telling myself, you are a good content creator. You are a good creative director, visual creator. And yeah, I got to a point where I was just like, I love this job. I still would love to do it, but I want more. I want more for myself. And it's not, you know, you shouldn't be embarrassed to admit that you want more for your career, especially if you believe that you're talented in what you do. And I do believe that I am talented in what I do. And I feel like I should be using my talents elsewhere as well as creating content on my own platform. So I'm looking into that now. I don't want to share too much, but I'm looking into just doing other things and working with different people, being in a different environment, because yeah, like I said, I love working for myself. It's the best thing I could ever do. I feel like my talent, this in the least vain way, I feel like my talent and my expertise and my experience and my creativity should be put in places where it will actually be appreciated as well. I hope that answers the question. So someone said, how do I balance being a mum and working full-time? Like I said, this job is very flexible in terms of I pick when I work. If I don't choose to make content, I'm losing out on money. If I choose to make content, then I make more money. At the same time, I work from home. This is my office. My daughter is currently with her dad playing. Luckily, I have him here, but when she starts nursery, it will be such a blessing for me. But how do I balance it? I just make time for my family. My family is the most important thing to me, especially my little girl. Her happiness is so important to me, and luckily she likes what I do. She likes holding the vlog camera. She likes holding my equipment and my clothes and my bags. It's a really fun thing to get her involved in, but at the same time, I've really had to force myself to switch off. Like, that's why I have this office, is for when I come in here, do my work, I can then clock out, and when I leave this room, I don't do any work unless I need to film in other areas of the house, but that's another story. I found myself filming when I was just doing things with my family. I found myself vlogging my daughter when she was doing something funny or silly or cute. Apologies, the lighting's gone bad, I'm nearly done. Yeah, I found myself filming intimate family moments randomly, like when I didn't need to. And I was just like, nah, Jess, like, that's enough. I remember Patricia Bright was talking about this, and I completely agree with her as a mum and a content creator. It's hard to differentiate the two, it's hard to separate the two, but I've really had to force myself to do so. Next question is, how do you have such a healthy relationship? I haven't shown my partner in videos and content and photos in ages, like properly. I used to put him everywhere. I've really learned to differentiate my private life and my work life, because I found it so hard in the beginning when I first like blew up on socials to turn off, to switch off. He wasn't bothered with that in the slightest. He liked it, if anything, and he liked being a part of my work and my journey as a content creator. But now, growing up, we have a daughter. Our relationship is so tight-knit. Like, he's my best friend, and he's my best friend because we work on our relationship. We communicate with each other. We have a daughter. We have to communicate. If we don't, it's gonna go to shambles. I think communication is the most important thing. Like, number one, if you don't communicate, you have nothing. So making sure that you make time for each other when someone else is not working, making time for, you know, quality time and to get to know them. Because I feel like I got to a point with him where we've been together for nearly 4 years. I feel like I needed to get to know him again. After having, you know, our daughter, we just got so stuck into being parents, and I think we forgot about individuals and our individual lives. Really appreciate them, minus the idea that they're your partner. Just appreciate them as a person and learn to enjoy the things that they enjoy. Learn to, you know, it's a compromise. Like, everything's a compromise, and I've really grown up, I think, in the last like 2 years of our relationship, ever since having our daughter. You really have to compromise, you really have to communicate, and you really have to understand that person and who they are, not just like them as your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife, but as a person. So that's the biggest tip I can give is understanding, communication, and compromise. That's what makes a healthy relationship, in my opinion. That's what has sustained our relationship for so long, nearly 4 years. That's mad. And the last question is, what is in store for you and what is next to come? I've got so many ideas, not plans. Well, yeah, plans, but ideas mostly. A lot of those ideas haven't been put to plan. It's more just like goals that I have and yeah, ideas that I have in my head that I would love to do. Like I said in the career question, I'm just wanting to expand, do different things, and get into different industries. I was even thinking about like TV, television, radio, that side. You know, what I do now, content creation, being more into the actual creation of content, because I love the creative side of it. I would love to be a creative director of some sort and come up with concepts for things. That's what I love to do, and I always do it for every single content that I put out. I've got so many plans in terms of like businesses that I want to do and start. And yeah, I just want to have fun. Like, this is the age where I really want to play around my career in the one career. So whilst it's all going to be creative, but I just want to dip my toe in different fields and just have fun and explore different, you know, industries and people. I want to network. I want to learn things from people again. Like, I just missed that. So I think that's what's next. But I'm excited to take you guys along the journey. And with that said, that's all for this video. I really hope you guys have enjoyed it. I'm so sorry about the lighting. My light died and it's dying, so I'm going to end the video and talk really quickly. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you have any more questions, leave them down below in the comments. My next Home with Jess episode is coming on Sunday. I'm really trying to make a little schedule for myself to make it easier, so you know when to expect content. But that's all. If you're new, subscribe. I love you so much, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Makeup slaps today also.